and we're still going over our fantastic coverage of NDK 2019. We had a blast, if you can't tell. This episode, we are doing our interviews, either people we ran into on the cosplay floor, the judges, or the people who even were competing at the contest. There are some really great stories here, and there's a lot of fun that we had. Quick housekeeping, though. Feel free to join our Facebook page, CosplayStitchAndSeam. If you want to tell us your horror stories, happy, sad, tragic, hilarious, we want to hear it all. You can always go to our website, CosplayStitchAndSeam.com, or email us, CosplayStitchAndSeam@gmail.com. Hope you enjoy!
Vfire here. I am here with...
This is Ronan, and... Not really sure what to say at the moment, but I just, recently got done judging the NDK cosplay contest. I've actually worked for this contest for the past 6 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a serious privilege to actually be able to watch it from the front side of the stage, and everybody who was in the contest made it such a joy to watch it. It was terribly hard to pick who the winners were going to be this time.
Oh yeah. Even as I was seitting back there, I just saw so many amazing cosplays, and I was just like, this is so cool.
It really is. We get a lot of people who are putting out their absolute best, and it makes it so hard on us, the people, working the contest, and especially now that I've seen how it is as a judge, it's like, wait, I'm supposed to, actually assign a value to this? How am I supposed to say that this one's better than that one?
Right?
And it literally comes down to a lot of times silly little nitpicky things like, okay, this cosplay was amazing, but this little bit wasn't finished, or on this armor the seams could have been cleaner, and silly things like that. And I think a lot of people don't realize that there's that close of a race between a lot of people.
Oh yeah. There's definitely a huge difference between what you see on stage versus seeing in the judging room up close. And
oh yeah.
Yeah, actually, I really appreciated that. You got up and were like, "I'm gonna come take a closer look at everything." I love that because it feels like, okay, you are coming. You really are critiquing my work, and I loved that.
And it's part of the reason that I've just worked cosplay contests for the last few years, because I started coming to conventions about 10 years ago. Ended up getting staffed with Nan Desu Kan the second year I came. Because I'd just been such a help, I'd volunteered a little bit to, get some free stuff, and they liked me so much that they asked me the next year to come back. And within a couple of years, I was working for the costume contest after becoming friends with the people who were running it at the time. And it was such a great experience, because that's something I'd fallen in love with. Coming to a convention for the first time was, all the costume works, and I'm a very creative person myself by nature, so, wait, I don't have to wait for Halloween to do this. I don't have to, wait for other times. I can do this, any time of the year, and I can go to a convention and be around thousands of other people who do the same thing. And then getting into the contest, it was like, oh, I can see the prettiest of the prettiest, right up close, But one of my favorite things over the last couple of years has been the last person, at the ramp as people are going on stage, and because I'm that last friendly face who goes, okay, breathe, take a breath, just remember what you practiced, just get out there. You won't be able to see anybody because of the lights anyway, so just go out, have fun. If something weird happens, roll with it and keep going. And it's been wonderful to be able to calm down people, but this year was just really amazing, being able to see it from the other side for the first time in years.
That's so cool. So, what has been your favorite thing that you've ever built for cosplay? Because you've got a lot of really cool stuff, and
yeah, mostly pieces that I've made for other people. Because once I once I got to the point where I was starting to start making pieces for myself, other people realized, hey, you make cool stuff. Will you make cool stuff for me? I was like, sure, I can make money doing this. And then I don't have time for my own stuff. But some of my favorite things is I actually learned how to do fiberglass work working on race car bodies. I love building swords that are ridiculously lightweight, but if you needed them in a self-defense situation, you could use them that way. So like one of the very first swords I did was, and it's still one of my favorite pieces to this day, was a claymore from the series Claymore for my friend Heather. And the thing is 5 feet tall. The blade is almost 7 inches wide at the widest point. It is solid as a brick and weighs 2.5 pounds.
Really?
So my little friend Heather, who is like 5'4", can carry this sword around all day long and not care about the weight that she's carrying around. And again, if she needed to put a dent in somebody's head with it, she could.
This is magic. Like, that's so cool. That's such an amazing thing.
Yeah, so... Yeah, and it just came from learning how to do it on race car bodies, which you just learn, use as much of the material and as little resin as possible. So I've done it, a couple of things. Like on my page, there's a video of a friend of mine commissioned me to do Ryuko's scissor blade from Kill la Kill.
Ooh.
And she was getting it. I did it again with the fiberglass, and it's just foam carved and then covered in fiberglass and then smoothed out, and I painted it with a beautiful like hot rod metal flake paint on it. But she was like almost ready to cry because she thought it was so beautiful as I was handing it to her. And then all of a sudden the shock of the fact that this thing weighs like a pound, it's so light, just snaps her all completely out of it. It just, the hilarity of the moment was wonderful. So
that's so cool. Like I love stories like that. Like do you want to tell us about what you're wearing, who you're wearing today?
Yes, I am wearing Major Armstrong from Fullmetal Alchemist. It kind of fits into my cosplay MO. I love playing very large, very powerful, but super friendly, super fatherly type characters. And I think part of it comes from the fact that I've got my own kids. I've got 3 kids. My oldest daughter, she's not here with me this weekend because NDK is a little big for her. She gets a little, anxiety. But she actually is my con minion at another con that I staff, Colorado Anime Fest. So she helps me in the cosplay department, and she loves cosplaying as well. And I know my other kids, once they start getting old enough that they can create their own things, are probably going to, get the same way. But I'm one of those people that I will become con dad. People know that if they're having issues, I'm a person that they can come to, and either I will find out how to fix it, or I will be able to at least direct them to, go talk to these people. They'll be able to get you taken care of, that kind of thing. And I, that's something that's always been kind of on my heart, is to, be there for people when they need it. So
I love that. Like, you embody that really well. I could see that in everything that you've done today. And I do have to point out, since this is audio format, his bald head sparkles.
You can't be Major Armstrong and not sparkle.
You walked on stage and just the sparkle. I was like, it's perfect.
I will have to watch the video of the contest. Hopefully they actually did the judges awards and stuff with whoever did the video.
I hope so too, because I don't know, just the faces and just everything was really great. Yeah. Everyone's reactions and whatnot. You guys did a good job. It was definitely a tough decision that you were going through.
Yeah, everybody made it so hard for us to pick, and there was several times that we kept going back and forth on, was this a little better? No, they had this little itty bitty bobble here, then this person didn't, but they did this, and so it was so difficult. But it's such a joy to see people's faces when they've won, and I know that not everybody can win, it's almost kind of a joke when judges say, "Oh, we wish we could get awards to way more of you," and it's the damn truth.
It really is. I've judged a dozen or so contests and whatnot, and it's so very true. Because everybody who enters, they have something in there that's just this is really cool. And seeing their passion put into the projects that they've created, I love seeing that, and I like my favorite thing about contests is actually being in the green room and being able to chat with us and be like, oh, this is a cool thing that you made. How did you do that? Like, what is your secret? And it's like everybody just geeking out over it and just craft geeking out. It's
so funny because I always hear these rumors of, oh, green room is this catty, horrible place. I'm like, what green room have you been in?
Right?
Everybody I've known is, the worst thing that's likely to happen is somebody might just be quiet. But, so many people have so much anxiety from going on stage and whatnot that's what they've got to do is they've got to sit, they've got to be quiet. But otherwise, it's people going, oh, dude, I love this piece on how did you do that? And I've never seen so many people just going and sharing what they've done. The cosplay community, especially when it comes to contests, people are always sharing, tips and tricks back and forth. And it's wonderful to see. And
it's so supportive back there. Like even I was sitting back there and I was just having like minor panic and was just like breathe. And I had so many people come and be like, "Are you okay? Do you want some water? Do you from the people sitting next to contestants sitting next to me to the people that are helping run everything back.
Right.
Like it was so nice and it helped me calm down and be like, okay, it's gonna be fine. And I had to remind myself, this is a bit you've wanted to do for over a year now. You can go do it. It's going to be funny.
And it was. It was hilarious and it was awesome and we loved it.
Thank you. Oh man. Oh, I think I could talk about the contestants for ages. But I don't want to keep you too long. Now, like I told you before, we end every episode with a cosplay horror story. Do you have any funny horror stories or horror stories that you'd like to share?
I would say probably the only real horror story I've ever had was the first time I attempted to cosplay Armstrong, and that was earlier this year at Colorado Anime Fest. And it just kind of boils down to a big learning experience of what to use and what not to use when doing bald caps and prosthetic, hair pieces and things like that. I learned very much the School of Hard Knocks. I used a latex bald cap and I was sealing it with spirit gum, which held for about an hour. And I was hosting a cosplay chess event. And that's one of my other favorite things is cosplay chess. I literally saw it the first year I came to NDK. I actually had to deliver a piece that I had made to a friend of mine, which was a little art piece that I'd made. Didn't even have any idea of doing commissions for props or armor and things like that at that time. But I'd fallen in love with cosplay chess, and I'm really hoping that when we get over to the Gaylord next year, that I'll be able to bring that back as an event here at NDK. We haven't had the programming space, but with that bigger location, they're actually going to make more room for the gaming dojo, and they want to be able to run it over there.
Oh, that would be so cool. I love cosplay chess.
It's so much fun. So if you ever come to Colorado Anime Fest, sign up for cosplay chess. I run it. My daughter and I actually have a hilarious idea for next year, but I think we're going to keep it under wraps, except for a couple of people. Kind of goes into yet another fatherly character, but this one's literally a father character to who she will be cosplaying. But yeah, getting back to the cosplay chess, I had put on a latex bald cap with spirit gum. I had attempted to make my mustache with foam with, just wig wefts glued to it. And it stuck to my lip for about 5 minutes. And the bald cap lasted for about 45 minutes before it was peeling up around the edges and looking horrible. And the event went well. But by the time it was done, I was just I literally just big old palm on the top of my head and yanked that bald cap off because there was nothing really holding it in place anymore anyway. So nobody saw me except for everybody who was at Cosplay Chess, which we had a wonderfully low turnout because we were Easter weekend. So it was Easter Sunday, and half the con had left to go to church and whatever with their families, or since that's kind of one of those expected things.
Family weekend kind of thing, yeah.
So it was just. That's my horror story, is just having to deal with horrible materials Obviously I've learned the correct way now of how to deal with a bald cap, so I've switched to a plastic bald cap that you actually like acetone the edges off to make it smooth into your normal hairline and whatnot. And then I'm using Prozaid instead of Spirit Gum, which takes way longer to dry, but it's 1,000 times better as far as holding stuff. Because what time? I don't even know what time it is. But it's
11.
Yeah, I'm at like almost 10 hours of this being on.
I was like, you've been wearing this for a while.
Yeah, so it's definitely made a huge difference knowing what materials to use. And on a positive note, that's honestly what I always try and tell people is, if something messes up, just use that as a learning experience. Use it as, don't do that. That may be the simplest part of the learning experience, but it really is, that easy is, don't do that. Try a different approach to it. And 9 times out of 10, the person who's successful at something has failed way more than the person who hasn't tried. So.
Awesome. Do you have any social media accounts or anything that you want to give a shout out to?
My Instagram is @RonanEric, or you can find me on Facebook at Ronan's Art and Armor. That's pretty much where I've got a Twitter too, but I look at that once in a while when a friend of mine tags me in something.
I'm so bad at Twitter. I'm supposed to be running both my podcast account and my own, and I'm so horrible at it.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough, and between normal jobs, staffing cons, being a parent, the whole nine. You can only keep up with so much. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was glad I got to talk to you.
Yeah, you've been amazing.
All right.
All right. So my first time competing in a cosplay competition, a costume competition, was at Starfest, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and it was with my biggest cosplay that I've ever done. It was Big Sister from the second BioShock game. I was super proud of it, and I knew that it was not perfect, of course, but they made us stand in a really tightly packed room for an hour.
Oh no.
And then in a really tight packed hallway for another hour, and everybody's nervous, everybody's moving around. I can't move because my cosplay is too big, and everybody's moving around me, and stuff starts falling off and falling apart, and I can't see through the helmet. I had a friend of mine that was my handler, and he ended up having to go help some family or something, so he was not with me on stage. So I get on stage, I have my helmet on, I can't see anything. I can barely hear anything. I'm just walking around like I don't even know, and I literally had to take my helmet off to find where to go to walk off the stage.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I was really upset by the end of it. I was proud of myself for doing it, for getting up there, and one day I'll do it again. But I was just really upset with the way that they handled stuff like that, because when you put this much work into a cosplay like that, you don't want it to break before you even get on stage. So
Do you have a social media or?
Oh yes, my Instagram is Dahlia Fabrications. I post more than just cosplay stuff on there, but I do post my cosplay stuff on there quite often.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mama Kimmy on Instagram. You can find me as Mama Kimmy with ones instead of eyes. My cosplay horror story is probably back when I used to cosplay Homestuck 5 years ago. One of my friends was in a group, as we normally are. You'll normally see us. And I was dressed as Grand High Boob, who is the gender bend of Grand High Blood. And if you know, he has a giant, what's it called? It's kind of think of a bowling pin, but you hit, I can't, like that. I made it purely myself. That was my very first prop I ever made, and I was so proud of it. Beyond proud. And there was a little joke that was oh, nobody can pick it up but Grand High Blood. So they were doing that. There was 4 people around holding it, pretending, oh, we can't pick it up.
Yeah.
Until one of my friends loses balance and falls on it. breaking the entire thing off of its staff. I'm still friends with them now, and every time they're like, I am so sorry, I didn't mean to. We had to go to the cosplay repair, and it never was the same then.
Thank you for sharing, Taylor.
All right, we are now here with
Gwen.
and who are you cosplaying?
I am the Royal Guard from Breath of the Wild.
And this cosplay is gorgeous.
Thank you.
All right, so from far away, we were just chatting about this. From far away, I was like, "Oh man, that stitching is amazing!" And I came up, and it's actually
It's puff paint. It's gold puff paint.
So clean.
it's so clean. Like such a steady hand to do that. Like, oh my goodness.
Thank you, thank you. I laid it down on a glass table and reflected the light of what I was tracing on the fabric, and then traced it with a blue Sharpie, and then just like crossed my fingers, prayed, and went for it.
That's so clever. I love it.
Thank you.
What's your favorite part of the costume?
The front crest, the royal crest, it was really stressful to paint all that on without brushing my hand across it and ruining it, but I really like how it turned out, just the right size and everything.
And I really like your fabric choices. Like the textures are really, really nice.
Thank
like
you.
The really light, like tunic underneath, and then the. I don't know how. I don't have the words to describe the blue part.
You know what the blue part is? It's actually a tablecloth from Goodwill.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Oh yes, it's so much cheaper to get like a $2 tablecloth versus, $15 at Joann's.
I want to do that now.
The designs in Breath of the Wild, what made you go Royal Guard, that's the one?
My absolute favorite design, I don't know, it's the trashiest armor. It doesn't protect you for beams, but it just looks so detailed and so pretty. It's my absolute favorite.
Awesome.
So
So we also like to share like cosplay horror stories on our podcast. Do you have any of costume malfunctions or cons gone wrong?
I actually don't. I've had a pretty normal, casual life. I don't know. Nothing bad seems to have happened.
What's been your favorite convention experience?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
What makes you keep coming back?
I just like seeing everyone else's costumes, honestly, seeing all the work that they put into it and seeing what they love. That's what's really exciting. Like, oh, you love this character enough to put all this time and effort and money into it. Really like seeing everyone's different levels of interest and what makes them stand out.
I like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One more time, where can we find you online?
Do you have
On Twitter, I'm Gwen the Hobbit.
Gwen the Hobbit? That is so cute.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Hi guys, we're still live at NDK. Now we're here with...
Shadowcat Cosplay from Kansas City.
And where can we find you online?
You can find me online at Facebook as Shadowcat Cosplay, and you can find me on Instagram at Shadowcat_cosplay.
Awesome. And so you were in the cosplay contest just last night. We saw you as Mifa from Breath of the Wild.
And I was uber geeking out over the whole thing.
We were like crying in the front row, just sobbing over your skit.
The performance was beautiful, and just like chatting with you back in the green room was so much fun. Like, you helped me feel calmer, and like it was really great to hang out.
Well, thank you.
I'm curious, what inspired you to do Mifa as a character?
I wanted to make something where I had to challenge myself a lot. A bodysuit plus like a headpiece was a lot of work because I normally stick to armor or props, so you got to challenge yourself every once in a while.
I noticed, there are so many different pieces in there. You had like fabrics, you had armor, you had jewelry, you had props. What was your favorite part to work on?
I would probably say, I like the whole thing, but any part where I got to paint, because I love painting. So I would say probably my jewelry pieces and my trident a lot.
Like even like the details on like Mifa's like fish skin, I guess.
Yeah.
Was like that was so beautiful and just like added extra depth to the character.
Thank you so much.
Detail. Like you could see it from stage and everything, like all these little tiny
little sparkles.
Yes.
I was trying my hardest.
It really did come across. It was so beautiful.
As much glitter and rhinestones.
Yes. I also wanted to ask, like with your performance, how long did it take you to come up with it and rehearse that till you were happy with it?
So when I enter cosplay contests, I usually have a performance that I want to do. I love a character so much, and then I have to make the costume. So I've had had the skit prepared for like a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
It was just I had to make the costume.
Right.
Yeah. So I've had it all like done and typed out and practiced for like the past year and a half.
And you technically made 2 costumes, because did you make the Zora armor as well?
Yes, I made the armor that Link gives him in the game, or that Mifa gives him in the game.
Yeah. It was so good. What did you use for the pieces in that? Like, I guess they didn't have to like bend and flex as much as like a regular piece.
I just used regular craft foam and then like thicker EVA.
Well, congratulations also on your win.
Thank you.
Where can we, I have not talked today. Where can we follow you online again?
You can follow me on Instagram at shadowcat_cosplay. I'm the most active there. You can follow me also on Shadowcat Cosplay on Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you so
Her
much.
cosplays are amazing. I've already stalked the crap out of her Instagram. It's great.
Thank you.
All right, we're here at NDK with Kaylee Cosplay.
And where can we find you on social media?
You can find me. I'm on Facebook as Kaylee Cosplay.
Sorry.
Awesome.
Pick up right in the middle of asking questions. So tell us about what you're dressed today, since this is an audio medium.
Oh, definitely. So I am dressed as Mercy from Overwatch in her Valkyrie skin.
And I love it so much.
Clearly you love Mercy. What made you pick this skin in particular?
I think, I don't know, just the Valkyrie, like the Viking Nordic look of it is just so interesting. And there's so many kind of moving pieces to it and detail that it just was something I wanted to try and go for. I loved like the original Mercy skin and everything too, but this was just kind of a really neat opportunity to try and experiment with some different techniques and stuff.
Do you want to, was there anything in particular you'd like to talk about with your build? Because there's so much to it.
There is a lot to it. So majority of it, I've worked with EVA foam in the past, but this was like the first time really making solid EVA foam armor, like my breastplate, the belts, all like the shin guards, the wrist guards, like everything, my pauldrons, like they're all made out of EVA foam. The wings are mostly made out of EVA foam. My staff is made out of PVC pipe, but it has a lot of EVA foam on it. And I think the coolest thing too is I was able to get the staff to actually move using a screwdriver.
Oh, that's so cool.
Is this a screwdriver?
It's a screwdriver, yes. They were able to take apart a screwdriver, like one of those little handheld ones, and moved all the wiring up into the top, and the top portion of it's just a drill bit, so I can take it off for storage. And it's a rechargeable one too, so I can recharge it at night, so it doesn't stop. I don't have to worry about putting batteries in.
Oh, that's so smart.
And it also has the screwdriver came with a light, so there is a light in it as well. This was the most tricky part, was the staff, and I wanted to make it move. I wanted some moving piece to my cosplay, and so getting that was actually one of the last things I did. That took about the last 4 days leading up to the convention to make it.
That's so cool.
So this is the first time debuting it?
No, I actually was wore this last year. It was actually in the cosplay contest for NDK and won the beginner's craftsmanship for it. So it was, I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy with how it turned out that I figured I'd bring it again another year. I'll probably bring it again a couple more years just because I love how it turned out. But yeah,
well, as part of our podcast, we like to share cosplay horror stories.
Okay, yes.
Do you have any of doesn't have to be like a bad time. It can also be a really cool story of something that happened to you at a convention.
I guess the one thing, it was one of my first not major cosplays, but one of the first cosplays that I used. Sorry, I'm like moving all over the place. One of the first cosplays where I actually started to like make armor, and I was trying to like actually make a piece without buying any parts to it. And I used it's like that Crayola air dry clay, and I was gonna use it as spikes, because the character, she had spike gauntlets. And I'm like, well, we'll just go for it. And it turned out all right when I made it. And the first day I put it on. It was day one of the convention, and I walked out of the hotel room and I scuffed the side of it and popped them all off, like the tips of them, because they were so fragile because it was just that really soft air clay. So ran back in, had to hot glue all the pieces back on. And the rest of the weekend I was so terrified to like touch anyone or be close to anyone, because this was the last year NDK was at the Marriott. And so it was just like sardines packed into a hallway. And so I was crammed up, like not quite fetal position, but I was so afraid to touch anyone inside because I didn't want any of my pieces to break, because they were all over there. My arms, my legs, like all over the place. And so never again will I use Crayola air dry clay for pieces that are pokey and will get hit. So that was definitely a lesson learned, for sure.
Do you have any advice for people who want to do larger builds, like the wings and things that stick out
Definitely.
the back?
The one major thing I would suggest is do your research. Like on the first month into making this was all researching, looking up YouTube tutorials. I would take a couple screenshots of the character and draw lines to each little portion and like see what supplies I would need for it. Like just dissect it one piece at a time and see what I would need for this section in the costume. Where can I find that? How much would it be? So I can also map out how expensive I think it's going to be. It's usually always maybe $100 more than I anticipate because you don't realize how much you need of it, or you run out of the supply. Something happens and you have to go get more. And then the YouTube videos help because you can see how you want to do a certain thing. So for this piece, I spent about a month researching it, and then the rest of it, the rest of the 5 months was all piecing it together, and then continuing going back to YouTube videos and checking it, being like, okay, is this how I do it? Is this how I do it? Because there's some YouTube videos where they do a beautiful job, but they go so fast, and you're just like, you made it look so easy, and I have no idea how you did that. So it's a lot of trial and error too. Sometimes you got to take little tiny pieces and try it first to see how it goes, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, you got to kind of go back to scratch and try it all over again. But definitely research beforehand. Anything is really possible with it, and also keep in mind, like with the screwdriver, like I never thought to look into using a screwdriver for making it spin, but I just used instead of having to go and buy a motor and everything for it, the screwdriver has it all included. It's got a button included, so that made it super easy.
Thank you so much. And one more time, where can people find you online?
So you can find me online at Kaylee Ann Cosplay with a C, so CAYLEEANN Cosplay on Facebook. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course, definitely.
So for my first cosplay, I did Geralt from The Witcher, and we had spent the better part of 2 months working on the whole thing and just working so hard on it. And it was the first year that NDK was in this hotel. And so we came downstairs, got registered, got prop check done and all that, and then went up those escalators over there. And just out of nowhere from across the room, someone yells, "Geralt!" And there's this little girl who comes running from across the place. And this was my first cosplay, so I didn't know anything about acting in character. And I just froze. I had no idea how to react to this. And, you were talking about liking performing and stuff. That's something I've never done. So it was something that I hadn't even considered. I was just terrified at what was happening at the moment.
Some people just kind of expect that you're dressed as the character, you're going to act like them.
Yes. And I'm learning to do that better now, but at the moment, that was something I had no idea what was going on, and I didn't consider that as a possibility. So that was a good first introduction to cosplay.
Nice. Is there anywhere we can follow you online?
No.
Do you have a cosplay name?
Nope.
No. Well,
Nothing.
Cool. Glad you still enjoy cosplay.
Yes.
You don't have to be on social media, but thank you for sharing.
We hope that you enjoyed our interviews at NDK 2019. If you want us at your con, all you gotta do is reach out to the con runners and have them talk to us. We want to be there and share in your excitement, your cosplay, your competitions. We would love to share that energy. If you want to help us out as we continue to try and make this great cosplay show, you can always leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, share the show with friends and family, and of course, to help cover the bandwidth, we have a Ko-fi account, ko-fi.com/CosplayStitch. Helps with uploading and website fees and all that fun stuff. We would love it if you joined our Facebook page, CosplayStitchAndSeam, where we love to hear about what you're working on, what you're excited about. You can also share your cosplay horror stories by going to CosplayStitchandSeam.com and filling out the doobly-doo, or sending us an email, CosplayStitchandSeam@gmail.com. You know, I gotta say, after experiencing NDK and all the fantastic stuff, I've decided to sew my own cape, and so it begins.